of national attention. And in case we have forgotten, because we keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record, I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball. And that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
This is a clip from a 2015 Senate session where Oklahoma Senator James Inhofe brought in a snowball from outside the US Capitol to disprove climate change. How did this clip make you feel? Did it make you feel more confident that our elected officials are making the correct choices? Usually, we think politicians should be highly educated and able to draw patterns to reach reliable conclusions, but many times the conclusions they reach are conclusions like these. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our dissection of climate change denial by US government officials. I'm Andy.
And I'm Donnie. Today, we'll be doing a deep dive into a topic that's both urgent and infuriating: how US politicians have weaponized climate change denial, undermining science, public trust, and our planet's future. We'll unpack the history, the donors, the consequences, and those fighting back. Let's start with the fact of reality. 2023 was the hottest year on record. Wildfires, floods, heat domes. Climate change isn't a future threat. It's here, yet some elected officials still call it a hoax. How did we get here?
Let's rewind to the 1960s, the 1970s, and the 1980s. Republicans and Democrats both championed environmentalism. Richard Nixon signed the Clean Air Act. Ronald Reagan's EPA banned leaded gasoline. Climate bipartisanship was on a roll. Fast forward to the 1990s. Fossil fuel giants like ExxonMobil launched many PR campaigns and coalitions to muddy the science. They funded quote unquote experts to say, is climate change real? The data is unclear. Their 1998 Global Climate Science Communications Plan specifically laid out plans to confuse and misinform the public. According to their own memo, quote unquote victory would be achieved for the campaign when average citizens and the media were convinced of uncertainties in climate science, despite the overwhelming evidence of the impact of human caused global warming and nearly unanimous agreement about it in the scientific community. By the 2000s, climate denial became GOP dogma. In recent years, polls are showing that across the country, the 75% of Republicans are suspicious of groups or people pushing for climate action, and another 52% are annoyed by the amount of attention the issue gets as a whole, compared to the Democratic 28% and 13%. The divide isn't accidental, it was engineered.
Let's talk about motives. Why would a politician deny a crisis their own voters face? Like Midwestern farmers losing crops to droughts or coastal cities in states like Florida flooding. Short answer: lobbying dollars. Fossil fuel industries have spent over $2 billion on federal lobbying since the year 2000. For example, the Koch brothers funneled over $11 million in 2024 alone into lobbying and another hundreds of millions of dollars into different groups that's helped spread the message of climate denial. And politicians returned the favor. Take Texas Senator Ted Cruz. He's received $5 million from oil and gas owners over his congressional career. Coincidence that he calls renewables a fantasy? Worse, some lawmakers invest in fossil fuels personally, viewing the destruction of the planet as an opportunity for personal financial gain.
Sowing doubt about the reality of climate change isn't just yelling fake news. It's a strategic playbook with many claims and tactics. Tactic number one, cherry pick data. Look, it snowed in DC. Global warming's a myth. Tactic number two, fearmonger about jobs. Banning coal will destroy Appalachia. Never mind that coal jobs have plummeted since 2012. Tactic number three, attack scientists. Remember climate researcher Michael Mann was harassed with death threats after his hockey stick graph showing the temperature spike of the Earth went viral? Mann was even threatened by Republican Attorney General of Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli, who wanted Mann's academic credentials stripped away from him. And tactic number four, delay action. We need more studies. We can't interpret the data. Meanwhile, emissions keep rising.
Denial isn't a victimless crime. Let's give some examples and focus on the real world impact denial has already had on millions of people. In Louisiana, climate change accelerated coastal erosion is swallowing football fields worth of land every year. In Arizona, record heat waves strain power grids and increase the risk of rolling blackouts that could cut the power to important buildings like hospitals. Globally, low income nations are the least responsible for emissions, and they face the worst impacts. Bangladesh's floods displaced millions of their residents. Pacific islands like Tuvalu slowly sink under the waves, and let's not forget the future generations who will have to inherit a planet on fire.
But hope isn't lost, as there are many different groups working to dispel the denial and provide the public with real data about climate change and climate action. Firstly, NASA. Despite pressure from this climate skeptic administration, they've kept publishing irrefutable data: shrinking ice sheets, warming oceans, intensifying storms. Then there's Blue Green Alliance, a coalition of unions and environmentalists. Their research shows clean energy could create 12 million new jobs by the year 2030. Solar installers, wind technicians, battery engineers, these are the jobs of the future, not drilling, fracking, and mining. Even in Republican states, change is brewing. Texas is leading the US in wind energy. Why? Because they have the solar and wind to execute it. It makes money. Politicians cannot deny dollar signs.
So, what can we do to fight against this? First, follow the money. Websites like OpenSecrets.org track lobbying, call out politicians who take fossil fuel cash. Second, vote locally. School boards, city councils, they shape climate resilience in your local community via the local patrol budget, operations, pension investments, etc. Support leaders who back flood defenses, green transit, and clean energy. And finally, and I cannot stress this enough, amplify science. Share NASA's climate dashboards. Fact check denialist myths. Science isn't partisan. And remember, every fraction of a degree matters. Your fight isn't over. Thanks for listening. Stay angry and stay hopeful.